Good evening. So tonight's video is going to be a little different. Tonight we're going to talk about Navajo names. Now I've gotten some messages from YouTubers asking, I want to name my child this name, I want to name my child that name, I want my child to have a Navajo name. What's a good Navajo name? What are good Navajo names? And that's kind of a hard question to answer because it can vary, but hopefully this video will cover that. A person can have names several ways. They can have a traditional Navajo name. They can be named by something they've done. They can be a nickname. They can be named by where they're from. They can be named by their clan. They can be named by their relatives. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So the first way a person can be named, they can be given a traditional Navajo name. Now for guys, when they're born, they're usually given a name that starts with Hashké. Hashké. It literally means angry or upset or mean, Hashké, but in the reference of a name it also means warrior. So usually for guys they'll be given a name that begins with Hashké, for example. Some guys may be given the name like Hashké Ahotnith, like the warrior who helps advance things, or like Hashké Dilwo'ii, the running warrior, or like Hashké, the warrior who came out of something, like out of a canyon, out of something, Hashké. There's also Hashké, like the warrior that raided, a raiding warrior, Hashké. There was one famous warrior. He was from Monument Valley area, and when the Navajos went on the long walk, and when they came back with nothing. And he was one of the people that stayed behind. And when people were coming back from the long walk with nothing, he gave out his cattle. He was giving out cattle to people so they could replenish their cattle from them. So his name was Hashké Neiniihí, the warrior who handed out things, Hashké Neiniihí. So his name was probably different, and when they started giving out things, they changed his name, Hashké Neiniihí. So that's one famous guy. Or a person can have a name like Hashké, like the warrior who fights with anger, Hashké. And so for guys, most of the time their names begin with Hashké. Girls usually have the name Ba, which means warrior or fighter, like Adez Ba. She led the fight, she led the raid, Adez Ba. Or Biji Ba, they met her in battle, Biji Ba. Or Ehien Ba, she fought in a circular formation, Ehien Ba. Or there can even be Chin Ba, she came out fighting or raiding, Chin Ba. There's also Traz Ba, like she fought among the raid, and Traz Ba is probably one that you're familiar with, especially when it comes with the Mary Had a Little Lamb song. Traz Ba bid the beholong, bid the beholong, bid the beholong, Traz Ba bid the beholong, ayoda, something like that. But that's Traz Ba, she fought in the raid. So my grandma says the reason why that some people have these types of names is because it gives them strength. Like for example, my Navajo name, my grandma gave me the name Hashké Yilkaigo'ía. I guess Yilkaig was like really early in the morning, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. That's Yilkaig. And so for me, I was born at 3 o'clock in the morning. So my name is Hashké Yilkaigo'ía, the warrior who went out early in the morning. There's no real word for that time of the morning in Navajo. So for that reason, I came up with the closest I could come up with, which is daybreak warrior. So another way that a person can get a Navajo name is by something that they do. For example, most kids are called either Ashki or It'ed. Ashki means boy, It'ed means girl. So if they laugh a lot, they can sometimes have the name Ashki Anatlohe, laughing boy, or It'ed Anatlohe, laughing girl. Or it could be like It'ed Atalahe, naughty girl, Ashki Atalahe, naughty boy. That can be a name. There can be Ashki Nez, tall boy, It'enez, tall girl. That's how some people will get a nickname. Get a nickname from things that they do, like if they're a card player, they'll get the name like Adika'í, which means card player or gambler, Adika'í. Some, if they're a silversmith, they'll get the name Itzidi, which describes somebody who hammers things, Itzidi. Some people used to get named by their cattle, like if they had a black horse, Belintlijini, black horse, Belintlijini, or Belintsazi, big horse. Some people got a name like that. tends to be physical characteristics. Like if a person has blue eyes, sometimes they'll have the Navajo name Benato'otlije, blue eyes, Benato'otlije. Or if they have like streaks in their hair, they can have a name like Bitsit no Donzi, Bitsit no Donzi. There's a guy who was a relative of mine or an ancestor of mine. He had a round mustache, so they call him Chi Nazbasi. It really means like circular nose, but described his like his beard Chi Nazbasi. It can be for any weird reason, like konj means body odor. So some people might have the name Konji, which means like somebody who smells really bad. Konji. Weird. One is really good at breaking horses. They can have a name like Neiniihí, somebody who breaks horses or tames horses. Neiniihí. If somebody has curly hair, that can be their Navajo name, Tsi'ch'ele, curly hair, Tsi'ch'ele. And then some people will have their name beginning with either a san for woman or Hastiin for man. And then after that, their description will follow after that. For example, like Hastiin cho'o, ugly man, or a san cho'o, ugly woman. Like Hastiin altsisigi, small man, a san altsisigi, small woman. Or like Dinék'ehjí, like I said, small man, little man. Or it can be like Hastiin Nabahe, the raiding man, the man who raids. Like Hastiin Sane, old man. So again, their name can begin with Hastiin or San. Then after that, the description of them will fall after that, and that's one way they can be given a Navajo name as well. Given like it can also be like a description that ends with tso or yaje. For example, Nabahi yaje, little raider. Nabahi tso, big raider. Or it can be like Hatchali Yaje, little medicine man, Hatchali Tso, big medicine man, that kind of thing. It can really vary how Navajo names go. There are some Navajo names that come in Navajo stories that I've always liked, like Tlitnayolpale, like he whirls with his horse, Tlitnayolpale. Another one that I've always liked is Geronimo's Navajo name. His Navajo name was Tlint'ahyesil. Which means like he holds back his horse. And it kind of gives the concept that he was a really good horseman. Do get named after certain items, like it's common for girls or boys to be named Shawn Dean for sunlight, but they'll spell like Shawn Dean or Shawn Dean, depending on which way they want the name to go. Some people are also known by their clan. Like if a person is from one area of the reservation and moves to another portion and they are the only person that has that clan, they'll be named after that clan. For example, like Asa To'ahedlini, water flows together woman, or it can be like Asa Ashihi, salt woman, or it can be like Hastiin Tutnes Zatni, Tangle people man, Mr. Tangle people is what it would sound like. Or like Hastiin Hónágháahnii, like Mr. One Who Walks Around. Since Hónágháahnii is a clan, and if he's the only person who lives in that area, some people may distinguish him out as like Hastiin Hónágháahnii, Mr. One Who Walks Around clan. It's kind of hard to explain that because I haven't really talked about clans, but people can be also given a Navajo name by their clan. And then sometimes some people will do a combination of their clan plus a description. Like if he's a big guy and he's from the Tsinajini clan, they might call him Tsinajini Tso. Or if he laughs a lot, he might be like Tsinajini Anatlohe, that kind of thing. So the person can also get their name from their clan, the clan that they have. A person can also get their Navajo name from the place that they're from. For example, Redmilla Cody, the singer, the Navajo singer, her dad is from a place called Grand Falls, Arizona, Adika'í. That's what you call it in Navajo, Adika'í, where the water flows down, Adika'í. So a person might be known by that name. So her grandpa is actually known as Hastiin Adika'í, Mr. Grand Falls. If a person was from a place that hardly anybody's from, like Neiniihí, somebody might be known as Neiniihí or Neiniihí. A good example of this is there's a place near Mena Farms called Bahan Sagas. And Bahansagas kind of describes like an area where the soil is not steady, or like sand where it just falls. Bahansagas. That's what the area is. There's a sloping hill where it's just like sand, and like really fine sand, and it just falls down. It's called Bahansagas. And there's a story about this woman, a Bahansagas, who was in the area, and she was on horseback fleeing from Ute raiders, and she went up that hill, and with her horse she was able to climb up the hill, and as she was climbing up she kicked down sand, and the sand fell in a way to where the Ute warriors couldn't follow her, and she made it to the top. And they say she did this in her 80s, and when she made it to the top she was laughing with her one tooth showing, because she was 80 years old, and they tried to fire arrows at her and they kept missing her, and she was laughing with her one tooth showing. And her name was Bahansagas. And like I said, Bahansagas kind of describes something that like loose sand, or like when you try to climb up sand, it just falls through your fingers. So when you use it to describe her, it sounds like she slips through their fingers. That also kind of gives that kind of name, Bahansagas. So some people also get a name from a location as well. Some people also get their name from a relative as well. For example, there was a famous guy in history from the Shiprock area whose name was Ba'alili, which means the man who had power, Ba'alili. So if he had an in-law, his in-law would probably be known as Ba'alili Ba'damne. Ba'damne meaning his in-law, Ba'alili Ba'damne. So that's how that person would be known, the one with great powers, in-law, Ba'alili Ba'damne. So they would reference the famous guy. Or for example, if a woman had a name like Asa Bitlizil, the woman with red goats, Asa Bitlizil. If she had a son, they might name her son after her. For example, they might call him Asa Bitlizil Biyaj, the son of the woman with red goats. Asa Bitlizil Biyaj. They might give him a name that way, referencing his mom. So this concept about like how should I name somebody, or how should I give a child a Navajo name, it's kind of hard to answer, because how it would flow and how it would fit with the Navajo mindset, the Navajo concept of naming, it really depends. So it's kind of hard to answer, but that should kind of give you some insight as to how some Navajo names go. I hope this video helps you, gives you some insight, but that's basically my spiel on Navajo names. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit me up with comments, questions, whatever, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good evening.